Over 40 years ago, Kim and I embarked on a ministry journey that has now become a global network through the power of the internet. As part of this pioneering work, we are gathering people from all over the world to worship together, grow in our faith, and inspire hope through an uplifting message. We are dedicated to reaching out with God's message of hope and love to all without discrimination or judgment. We invite you to join our House of Destiny free membership that allows you to connect with members from around the world. Through our prayer wall, you can post your requests and have others join us in prayer. It's so powerful when the saints gather and believe for a breakthrough. We invite you to join today. Simply click the online church login and sign up. Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. We are here for you, and we have worked hard to provide the resources and tools to help you grow in your faith. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. I made it. And you know what? I was a little bit worried about how many of you were going to show up today because I've moved the day. You know what that's like? You move a day, and if somebody didn't see, you're probably going to have some people who don't know, where was Donna on Friday? I've moved to Sunday. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm taking questions today. I decided to do Q&A because I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions, especially after we covered the Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton prophecies last week. So if anybody has questions for me today, I am answering. Let me have a look who's here. From Oregon and Canada, Indiana. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thanks for coming. I'm so glad you guys could make it because a lot more of you are here than I expected, so I'm glad to see that. I was like, is anybody going to watch? So welcome again. Okay, so today we have to start with our scripture verse because we always do that. And I actually asked Lou to choose today, and he chose. It was funny because I said to him, I need a scripture verse for today. You choose it. I don't even know why I said that. It just came out of my mouth. And then immediately I heard Romans. I said, okay, you find it in Romans. And so next thing he says, Romans 8:28, which I already liked because 8 is my favorite number. And the 28th is the day of my son's birthday. He's born August 28th. So that would be easy to remember. I had no reason to go to Romans. So this is from God. And Romans 8:28, if you don't already know it. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. There it is. Have a look. Called according to his purpose. So this is actually a really good verse to start with, because if you think about someone like my dad, he had a very unique calling on his life. He did something that I don't know anybody else who did what my dad did. Um, I do know some other prophets' kids. I've come across them from time to time, and you'll find that we all have sort of it's not. Think of PK. I'm sure anybody growing up in church, you know what a PK is. If you don't, a PK is the pastor's kid or the preacher's kid. And those kids tend to be, well, some of them will be fine, but others will, there's sort of a tendency to rebel a little bit and go into the world and then return. Usually there's a return. There's a prodigal son thing that happens there. And I've observed this in my experience being with so many different pastors and so many different churches, and then other prophets and prophetic ministries, and all different kinds of, and apostles and healers, different people that God has anointed to do specific things. I grew up in the back, in the pastor's lounge, if you would, and I saw, at the dinners afterwards, and I saw what went on and in the lives of these different people, and also many different kinds. So pastors in Africa, pastors in Europe, pastors in America, pastors in Canada, pastors in South America. Think about. I think about all the places that I went growing up, and I got to observe this, and that is a common theme. I think it's just, when you're raised doing something, you have it in you to rebel. And also there is pressure on the children of the called, if you would. Those children have a pressure to carry on the legacy. And, I'm in that position right now, so I can speak to this. And what I have done since my dad got sick and passed away is continue the legacy of what he was doing and what God was doing through him. I think is the more important. And being able to define what that is and how do I continue it, and am I the right one to do that? You might hear a baby because there's a baby over here. Um, so it did distract me a little bit, but he's very cute. He's a very cute baby. He's my nephew. He's over there. There he's shouting. He's got something to say. You might want to tell her. So anyway, um, maybe we'll get to see the cute baby. We'll see how he's feeling. But, growing up that way, I was able to observe, and this, so I can speak to this from my own observation, not what somebody told me, what I heard. I observed this continuously happening. So when my dad passed away, and I decided, okay, well, it wasn't even really my choice. I mean, God really pushed me into a position I didn't know I was going to be put into. My dad and I never uh, went into ministry, and my dad also knowing what he knew, uh, traveling around, knowing so many different families in the ministry. He never put pressure on us to go into ministry unless we independently by ourselves felt called to do that. And so he was, because he understood the destiny. Uh, some people are like me, and it's so unique with me because I wasn't. It wasn't like I was in training working up to doing what I'm doing now. I had none. I lived my own life. I did work for my dad, sometimes full time, sometimes part time over the years. And that was because I wanted to, because I knew what he was doing was real and from God, and that it was so unusual. So I always was a part of it, but I wasn't a center stage person. I wasn't in ministry ministering. Now I would minister to people as a Christian does, and I would be in many situations where I would be in meetings with my dad prophesying over people, and sometimes he would call me to help him. If he's felt Donna's going to be able to minister to this person, he would throw me in the mix there. So I had that experience, but I wasn't in ministry. And then all of a sudden, a lot of things changed in me. And when that happened, um, it changed my perspective on my whole life. and I redirected it, but I knew it was right. But that was a situation that was unique to me. And so each of these, when I'm talking about other families and the pressure to do what your parents did is there. And it was there for me when my dad passed away. Everybody wanted me to jump. I can play the piano. They wanted me to jump behind that piano and just fill the space of a void. And I knew that was not what I was meant to do. As much as I would love to be able to uh, I don't know, feel my own dad in me by doing something like that, especially because I missed him so much. I knew that wasn't the right thing for me, and that doesn't mean it doesn't diminish my calling or uh, make it so it's questionable. It's making my destiny and my calling unique to me. And when you have that relationship with God where you can go to him and say, okay, I can't do X, Y, and Z. Do you want me to do that? Because you're going to have to equip me. You're going to have to open doors. You have to help me. And so this is the way I've managed this journey. And what I am doing here is I am I am in charge of collecting, examining, and literally code breaking these prophecies. But I am not much different from you as far as looking at the actual prophecy. Perhaps if my dad was here, he would have more insight, but he even wouldn't always be able to uh, uh, give an in-depth, give me more detail. Why did you see that? And this is what the FBI would do to him is he would tell them what he'd seen, and they would ask questions that he couldn't answer because he couldn't tell them why. Just like when I was driving in the car today, and I asked Lou to find me the scripture verse for today, which is so appropriate. I knew Romans. Now there was no thought process leading me to Romans. It was such a brief thought that there was no path in my mind to that. So oftentimes I'll know that's God because there's a feeling and there's a recognition, but then it's also, I wasn't thinking about it. It came out of my mouth. I don't know why I said Romans. And so, um, you know, that's the way it would work for my dad. That's the way it would work for all of us because we prophesy in part, we see through a glass darkly. So we're not going to know everything. We're not supposed to be God. Um, and so, for instance, when my dad prophesies, Bill Gates will open up a gate for a financial realm for the church. It doesn't mean Bill Gates is a good guy. It doesn't mean he's going to get saved. It doesn't mean anything other than that exact precise thing because he didn't have much of an opinion as far as his own opinion of Bill Gates, except for he knew he was a millionaire who did computer stuff and gave to charity. And one time he talked about that. Other than that, we never had conversations about Bill Gates. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a person. Same for Donald Trump. He didn't have any. He wasn't a fan. He hardly knew anything about him except for that he was a real estate guy, that he was wealthy. He didn't know. And he says that himself. I have video footage of Dad when he went to New York. He landed in New York the day that Donald Trump came down the escalator. When he did that, that was all God's timing. He was supposed to have been there the week before. But when he was there, he even said, "I have no." I forget how he worded it. He said, "I have no like I don't particularly. I'm not a fan." He wasn't saying he wasn't a fan of Donald Trump. He just didn't have an opinion either way. But that's what was prophesied because he said what God wanted him to say. It came into his spirit. He said, God, show me. And then it comes out, right? So sometimes he would, again, have some insight because maybe there were things he felt and saw, events surrounding what he saw might have given him more insight. And I might have a little bit more because I knew him and I recognized in my dad. So I can talk about my dad. Um, but aside from that, I am not the authority on okay, well, when Danae says it's this because I've made mistakes. I thought the Esther was Amy Coney Barrett back in when Trump had her going into the Supreme Court, and I went to Washington D.C. and I was shouting it, and Charlie Jordan said to me, "Danae, I'm not sure if it is her." And this is pre-2020 election and COVID, so obviously it wasn't her. But I was wrong, and so I'm saying all of this because, and this is why I want to do Q&A now, is because I've had a number of people uh, um, who are getting upset with me because I won't label them as whatever was prophesied. But I don't feel I'm the person who needs to do that. And if a prophecy is fulfilled, then it's going to be obvious. I'm not going to have to come out and say it. Now, I will do those things because I can say I am in agreement with this. Like, I can see this looks like what he prophesied. I can pull up not just one prophecy, but multiples that are touched on that topic, and then we can have a better look. I can do that. So there are certain advantages that I have, but it doesn't make me the final say because I could be wrong. And so everybody who gets mad at me for not announcing them as this or that that's been prophesied, please understand that I will not do that unless God releases me to do so. And if I feel that I shouldn't, I'm not going to, and I'm not going to be bullied into it either. So those of you who are trying to threaten me need to stop doing that because that's not right. Okay? If you are who was prophesied, or if something you're doing was prophesied, it will, no matter what I say or do, happen. And you need to have the faith for that. You don't need to rely on me to tell you, okay? Because that's not what we're doing here. We're coming together to figure it out. So, now that I've cleared all of that up, let's have a look. Does anybody actually have any questions?
Oh, there's a few.
Okay, what's happening? Where must I go? Which would be, what are we doing?
I'm looking at YouTube.
Sorry, guys, I'm just reading through here. This was interesting. I'm going to have to come back and read your story, TL Go Woe on Rumble. Very interesting, that. Nina Rocks. Hi, Nina Rocks. You're back. She's in New York. Okay. Song for him. Yes, you can send me the dream. Send it to codebreakers@houseofdestiny.org. Song for him has had a dream. Now, I do like to see the dreams. I really do.
Myra Elliott asks, what did your dad see when he started crying? Did he ever tell you?
In 2027.
Or your family?
Okay, the 2027 prophecy is a good question. I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, so in that prophecy, he saw, there's a longer video, and I think we should air this one again on Prophetic Rewind. I can't do it tomorrow because I have something else I'm putting up tomorrow, but maybe next week we can air that 2027 again. It's been a while, and I want to do the longer version. So oftentimes when I am presenting prophecies, I have very limited time, be it on a broadcast or live presentation. I'm limited. So what I'm trying to do when I'm there is pull up as many as I can that focus on whatever topics I'm discussing. And so I do cut them sometimes. Now, that particular day in 2027, he saw, and I have to review because I need to look again at everything that he was prophesying. It's been a while since I've reviewed it. But I do know that he saw Emma, who is Hannah's daughter, healed. And he was crying about that. The reason that I did not include that in the one that I was posting on YouTube was just because of Hannah and her daughter and their privacy. So I didn't want to, at the time that I posted this, I didn't want to, I couldn't get a hold of her in time, and I didn't want to put something up that was personal, even though it was prophesied publicly and the whole thing was a public event. I still like to check on some of those things. You know, you want to respect people's privacy, especially when it's kids. Like, a lot of people don't want, like me, I don't put a lot of my kids online because I just don't think it's safe. So you have to think of those things. But there is that section, and I think at this point I can put it up. It won't be a problem. It's just when I first made that clip of that prophecy, it wasn't really relevant. It was a personal aside. But he also said, "Where will I be?" And this is where he broke. He said the year 2027. And he was seeing this young boy. And he started crying, and he said he was speaking of this young guy, not a boy so much, but a young guy who would be president, I believe, to be after Trump. And he was concerned. I think in that moment he might have sensed that he was not there, because he said, "Where will I be? And the children he's talking to God, the children you've given me to take care of." Now, the children he's talking about are my adopted brothers and sisters. So I think he was seeing the year 2027. He knew that was the year he was in. He was seeing other things and realized he wasn't there. And I think that may have frightened him a little bit because he was very emotional, and he saw Emma being healed. And Emma has genetic disorders. She's wheelchair bound, and there's more to it, but Emma needs healing. And he saw it happening. And so we do still, to this day, stand in faith that that is going to happen, um, and may already be happening. So that's part of what he was crying about, because um, my parents were on that journey with, I mean, so many people on the team they were very, very close to, so they knew all the stuff about their families. And in that moment, my dad saw her daughter healed, but he also saw that he wasn't going to be there. And that was a very beautiful moment. Uh, I remember, and again, I haven't actually watched this video in a while. You just brought this up now. I need to go back and watch. But he was talking about David, and he was actually was in a situation where he was feeling and seeing what King David saw at a crucial moment, and um, he was quite emotional about that. So we will have a look, but those are some of the surrounding. I can tell you that's what was going on around it, and I think we need to just give you a longer version of that, so we'll just put the whole broadcast up, that you can see in context everything, because it's so powerful in the worship there too. And when the worship was powerful, it would happen. That's what would sort of catapult and open everything up. Is in the act of worshiping God, then God would give him these glimpses into the future that are undeniable. I mean, think about it. We talk a lot about Trump because it's so crazy. Because like I told you before, it wasn't like he knew him or knew much about him at all. It came out of his mouth in 2007, and for the rest of that year, you see him seeing more and more and more and more. And then there was that young one we were talking. I'm so glad this has come up, because my dad saw Trump, but he saw the one after Trump. And if you look at the prophecy from February 22nd of 2014, where my dad saw all the stuff, he saw the Roger Stone prophecy, and the women who cooked your own children. No longer will your children be your food. And he saw them trying to pack the court. And he saw, oh my goodness, that day was just. And in that day, he saw this young one. Now, if any of you have seen that whole day, I can never use that whole prophecy on this. I mean, we've posted it on Prophetic Rewind, but if I'm presenting or anything, it's so long, because it was the entire broadcast he was prophesying, that I have to cut out relevant pieces when I'm showing. Otherwise, people will be sitting there for half an hour, 45 minutes just watching. So sometimes we can do that, but we can't. I can't. So I've had to sort of cut sections to use them for different things. But in that prophecy, and again, we have posted this. It's a viral video on YouTube. Other people have posted it too, of the whole thing, and you'll hear him talk about the young one amongst them who he'll say he's not a great orator. He doesn't speak well, and people will even say this man is not speaking enough. And he said he was of a smaller stature. Now, he went to Miami later that year, and at Miami Cap, he saw this young one again. And he saw him being the first Latino president. He dropped his mantle on the platform, and he said, "You're young now." And uh, he had the spirit of King David on him. So you see the spirit of King David is a theme throughout all of this that's happened. And you see the 2 terms for Trump, which was very clear. He prophesied 2 terms from Maricopa County. And Maricopa County is where we've seen all the election shenanigans. So prophetic that he prophesied from there too. And then he prophesies the 2 terms, but then you see this young one, and and we all know, that Trump only is going to have 1 more term. He's not going to have 2. Even if he could have 2, I don't think he's going to do it, because he's getting older, and he has been through, man, to come to the end of your life and go through all of this is insane. But of course, we know we'll get another term of Trump, but then there's this young one. And that's who we need to start praying about. Because now, when you are dealing with prophecy, we're not dealing with the moment we're in all the time. We are when we need to recognize the moment. We've got to live in the moment. But a prophetic people, we're always looking forward. So at this stage, now I feel comfortable enough to start to talk about this young one more. Um, because we now are getting to 2024 after Trump is this young one. Very important. Okay, what else do we have? Like you were looking at.
Yeah. Do you think the Strange July, They Fall in the Fall, and Hypnotic November is coming in 24, or is it this year?
It's not this year, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why it has not been any year. And if you guys have watched Bo Polney, Bo is like so focused on this prophecy as he should be. I love Bo, and Bo has been on a journey with this prophecy, and I know it's really he's just dug in his soul for it. But there's one thing that everybody who talks about that prophecy forgets about and doesn't think about: the volcanic eruption in a national park as a sign. That's what he prophesied. So if you listen to that whole prophecy, he's going through each season of the year. And he says, strange July, hypnotic November, falls in the fall. And he's talking about summer and what summer will do. At this stage, I am leaning towards it could be next year, 2024. It would make sense. However, he said there would be a volcanic eruption in a national park as a sign. Now, what would that sign be? What you would find with my dad is he didn't always, very rarely would get a year, a date. And I have my own theories for why that would be, but he very rarely would, he got that 2027, but it wasn't often he would get an actual year or a date. God would show him something that would indicate to us that this is the time of that prophecy. So when he prophesied about California and severe winds from above and the states affected by it, and this isn't the volcanic eruption one. This isn't the strange July one. This is a different prophecy, but in that prophecy, there are things in there that indicate to you when it will be. So when you have this year where he goes through the seasons and the falls in the fall, you know it's an election year because fall is election time. And you know, I have not seen it yet. Volcanoes go off all the time. So like I said before, it can't be like, okay, we've got to go run around and look for the volcano. It needs to be something that's getting everybody's attention, in my opinion, at this stage. That there's a volcanic eruption as a sign. He's very clear, it's a sign. So the sign is, what year is he talking about? Because then he goes on to prophesy about each season of the year. So there must be a volcanic eruption in a national park as a sign. A sign is something people see. So not something you have to go look for. It's not hidden away. There's a volcanic eruption in a national park. I hope this doesn't happen in Jackson Hole. Not Jackson Hole, in Wyoming.
Oh,
Where's the park? Why do I keep wanting to call it Jackson?
it's
It's not. Is it? Anyway,
I'll
it
remember.
could be that one. If it's that one, we're all done for. So I don't think it's going to be that one. Because that'll be a sign and then we'll all be in heaven together. Because I think when that thing blows, like most of America
Old
blows
Faithful?
up. Yeah, Old Faithful's there. Someone help me. I'm waiting for. There's a little delay.
I only get YouTube comments. I haven't looked at Rumble. I can't see Rumble.
Yellowstone. Thank you.
Yellowstone.
What's wrong with my brain? There's even a TV show. I cannot watch that TV show. You know, I've tried to watch the TV show Yellowstone, and I cannot watch it. I just can't pay attention to it. I can't watch it. Now, 1823. That was very good, which is the precursor to that show. I don't know why I'm talking about that show. I saw Yellowstone. I thought about the show. So yes, I hope it's not. Do I believe Kim was attacked? Yes. 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 That's my answer. And I'm very upset about it. You can see, yes, I do believe something. I don't know what it is, but I know it in my gut. And I get upset about that. I don't like to think about it, but I do. Does anybody else have trouble watching Yellowstone? Yeah, everyone in here is super volcano. See, I don't know. I hope it's not. If it's a super volcano and we're all blown to smithereens, it can't be that. So it's got to be, we have to be logic here. Because God is not all up in there. God is logic. He's given us logic, and he's put us in this space, time and space place. So
There was that volcano went off now in Hawaii, but this has to be a specific.
yes, someone is saying 2028. Yeah, I would think 2028. We got to look for a young Latino who isn't very well spoken. They'll even say this man is not speaking enough. But he's amongst them. So that tells me that was the other thing, is Dad's prophesying all this stuff about Trump, and it's so blaringly obvious that it's stuff that's happened in Trump's term or will happen in the second, and amongst them, so meaning someone from the movement, someone from the Trump, because you have this new party. He saw the scales removed from eyes, and they were one party of people. So this is a new party, which we are seeing happen. Like, that's undeniable. The MAGA movement, unfortunately, MAGA has been labeled as white supremacist and terrorist, which is absurd. This is people who are afraid of their misdeeds and sins and crimes being exposed, and they are desperate. So they are going to, anybody who questions them, anybody who doesn't fall into line or do what they're told, they're just going to push us out and call terrorists. It's very easy for them to do that. They don't have to answer for anything. They have taken over the justice system, the legal system, the FBI. And the CIA has been running this country ever since JFK's assassination. Sorry, that was a coup. So now we have to re-examine everything, which is exactly what God warned us about through especially that one on February 22nd, when my dad prophesied February 22nd, 2014. Look for that date, you guys. We must post it again. We'll just post it again, and you can have a look again, because there's so much in that prophecy.
Did Kim know John Paul Jackson?
Once. He met him once. I'm so glad you asked that question. I don't like these questions. These are great. Okay, so John Paul Jackson was on an airport. My mother's the one who told me this. My dad never told me this. My mother told me that he was on an airport, and my mom, and they just happened to cross paths in an airport. They were both getting on flights, and they had a little bit of time. And Mom said that she sort of left them alone, and they went off and talked, and nobody knows what they talked about. So that remains between John Paul Jackson, Kim Clement, and God. But yes, they did meet and had a conversation, and my mother doesn't even know what they talked about. She stepped away.
Sherry Crook wants to know, have you got tapes you haven't shown us?
Yes, I have got things that I don't even know what's on them. So this is part of what we're working on at the ministry right now, and it's been difficult because it's very expensive, and we're trying to, we're being very frugal, especially during this time. This economy is not good. It's been very difficult. So we are working on it, though. So we have, for instance, my dad went on TBN a bunch of times. Now, we're not going to be able to find that footage if you go to TBN now. I don't even know what they're doing anymore. But they gave him copies of the broadcast, the TBN broadcast he was on. So we have them in what's called, I think it's beta. Is it beta? Those big ones.
There's two different types.
There's two different kinds. It's a beta, and then there's these huge things. We don't even know what machines we need to run them on. Well, we know, but acquiring some of these older machines just to watch something is very expensive. So we're trying to figure out about digitizing, and it's been very difficult. Now, we did some of them. A few years ago, we did DVDs. We digitized a lot, which gave me plenty to work with. And I have the prophecy database. So if I find something that I can't get to in our cloud and our things, I can contact one of our editors, Danny, and he can get on a physical server and find it by date. But that still isn't our TBN stuff. So there's stuff I haven't even seen. Now we have a prophecy database, though. So if he was on TBN, that's definitely going to be in the database. They definitely would have transcribed it. Now, we have stuff on cassette tapes when people weren't even filming my dad, and they would just make audio recordings, and they're on cassette tapes, and we have got thousands of them. Thousands. Now, a lot of them are duplicates, like, because we used to do a message of the month. My dad did it, but I worked for him at the time. We did message of the month. And so if you were a partner with the ministry, wherever he traveled to that month, because this was before the internet days, before the Den and the broadcast, when he was itinerant, every month they would pick a day because he would travel constantly. to different churches and events and things all over the world. And so they would pick something that month that they had recorded and send that cassette tape to the partners. And I bet you somebody's watching right now who knows this. VHS and beta. Yeah, the beta are small. It's not VHS. TL Go. It's not. It's not VHS. We did those. We've done the VHS.
It's an old beta with it's a big tape.
There's somebody. I knew it. Sorry. The first word Kim had for me was on cassette. There you go. There's somebody right there. So you know what I'm talking about. I would absolutely have Praying Medic on. Yes, I've never met him. And the Q&A prophecy. Oh, I mean, can you imagine that he saw that? Before Q, I didn't even pay attention to that prophecy. As soon as the Q thing started, I just searched Q. And I saw Q&A and I thought, oh, it's a question and answer thing. But I was like, no, he prophesied something. And I wasn't there that day and didn't see that broadcast. So I never knew about that prophecy. And when I found it and put it out, here's what concerned me, is my dad was seeing something negative. Like it wasn't like he was like, yay, Q. So I've always been, I don't think it's Q though. I think that there's something else going on. He saw something else going on that was concerning. So yes, I would absolutely love to speak to them. I have looked into museum and library. We're looking into all kinds of ways to. I'm sorry, I didn't say who said that. It was K Evans IGDR. Asked the question on Rumble. Have you tried asking a museum or national library? We are just looking at all kinds of options. It's expensive though, so we're doing it in sections. So we've done it by thing. So we've done VHS because we knew we had a bunch of video footage on there we could use, and we've done DVD. That was really easy. I had actually started doing that myself because you can digitize off of a DVD if you've got a thing. And I even bought a machine. This is back in 2016, 17. I bought a machine that was VHS to DVD, and you could actually transfer from VHS to DVD and then from DVD to computer. So I started doing that all on my own, and then realizing that it would probably take me decades if I was just the one doing it alone. We realized we need to get other people involved. So this is actually going to be part of a new partnership program we're building at the House of Destiny Network. And we're not announcing anything yet because we're still constructing this. But we had to redo like our partnerships. Like Dad had set up particular partnership programs which people kept contributing to, and we kept running all of these years. But it's definitely time now. And I know if my dad was alive, he would have redone all of these things. So we've gone through and we're making like a better, more updated partnership program so people can partner with our ministry to help us with projects like this. So one of my big things is redoing the prophecy database so that it's more precise. For instance, you'll go into that prophecy database sometimes and you can do a keyword search on there, and it'll pull up every time you said that word, like in date order, and you can click on each of the dates and it'll pull up a transcription. Well, what needs to be in there is a transcription of what was prophesied. And sometimes they have a transcription of the entire service. So everything everybody said. And so sometimes, a lot of times in those full transcriptions, he's not prophesying everything. So I want to go in, and it's going to take a lot of work, but I'm going to go in, find, okay, what was actually prophesied, have that transcription of only what is a prophecy. So you have to watch the video sometimes to see that. Every time you're going to have to watch the video to see that. But that way, when you go into the prophecy database, you can do the keyword search. You can pull up the prophecy. Only what was prophesied is going to be there. But then we want to have it so that embedded in the same page is the video of him prophesying what you're reading. And that's going to take so much work, but we're doing it. And then also, I was thinking it would be good to add a link to the entire broadcast. So those of you who want not only to see what he prophesied, but if you have the time to watch a 2-hour broadcast, you can see in context maybe what he preached about, what he was praying for, what was going on at the time. And that's all available now if you're a member of the House of Destiny Church, the online church. It's easy to. You should just go ahead and do that anyway, no matter what. Go in there and become a member. It's free. You'll give us your email address, and we do want that because here on YouTube we are so censored. It's just we're literally throttling us. So we need to make sure that we have your email addresses so we can contact you if we lose the YouTube channel, because that could happen at it. We've got strikes. I'm in so much trouble. My picture's been up with, I committed the terrible crime of repeating statistics after the 2020 election, and they were very offended that I did that. But hey, it's not my fault. Hey, if 782% turnout in one county in Michigan, and I can't talk about that without getting censored, it's ridiculous. Somebody asked a question here, and I think I might. Morocco, yes, the flooding in Morocco. Listen, you guys should go back, go to the House of Destiny website and watch the broadcast from yesterday. It's me, my mom, and Christy from our Israel Update channel. And mom had video and some important things to say about the flooding in Morocco. It's funny you bring that up right now because my mom just did a whole thing. So go to the website. You can see it right there on your screen above me somewhere over here. But if you go to where it says watch, see, you've got Reese. Oh, where are you?
I'm in the online church.
Oh, you're in the online church.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I'm
if you
showing
join the
them.
online church, you're going to be able to navigate through this very nicely. And as you can see, there's prophetic rewind. Now, usually that's where I'm going to put, like if you want to see a full broadcast in context, that's where you're going to see it. And I will put up the 2027 prophecy in there next Monday. So not tomorrow, but the following Monday, I'll put that 2027 prophecy up. Why don't we show them what we have?
What's that?
What Clay Clark sent me.
Okay.
Get that ready, and I'm just going to look here because I did see a question I wanted to answer.
Okay, I have it ready.
What happened to Bill Gates in the financial realm for the church? Nothing's happened yet. Bill Gates is still alive. And I don't believe he's going to do it intentionally. People can create things. Oh, who knows? I mean, maybe he will. But yeah, you shouldn't give up on that prophecy yet because Bill Gates is still alive. So let's see what happens there. That was one time he saw that one thing. It's the only time he's ever prophesied anything about Bill Gates, and that was it. So anybody telling you he prophesied more, you can go and look yourself, and you'll see. Go to that prophecy database I told you about. Go to houseofdestiny.org, kimclement.com. Go to kimclement.com, and the About Us section, you'll see prophecy database. There's a keyword search. Search Gates or Bill Gates, and you'll see. Yes, Morocco had an earthquake. Libya had a flood. Thank you, Tara. But there was flooding. We had video of flooding there.
Okay, I have it ready.
Lahaina. I just saw a question I can't find. Thousands of dollars. Nathan was asking how expensive. Thousands of dollars just to do the betas was just going to be like thousands of dollars. But I think it's because we have so many too. We have a lot. Mount St. Helens erupted. You see, something like that might be. My dad was attacked all the time. He really was. It was shocking. He handled it so well too. He didn't. It was really. I've lost that question. I was so interested in answering. I can't find it. And I can't remember exactly how it went. Okay, so I just don't want to neglect you guys because we are actually doing a Q&A. Prayers for Lahaina. Yes, absolutely. I've wept over it. I cannot, because of what it might mean, and I'm not going to repeat it here. But if what happened there, the worst case scenario that I can imagine, it's terrifying and heart-wrenching. I can't even think about it. But yes, we are praying for the people in Lahaina. Okay, so someone's asking, where can I send a thought I've had about the potential Esther? You can email me at codebreakers@houseofdestiny.org. And I will answer, if I can, I will answer your question. And please forgive me if I'm late in answering you. That email those emails get pretty full. And the thing about it is, if I'm answering an email, I'm usually going to completely dedicate myself to that conversation in the moment, and I'm going to have that conversation with you. And when I've got thousands of them, it gets to where I look, if I do this, I'm not going to be able to do anything else. So I am slow on the responses because it is just me responding. My dad did see that he was going to die, and I didn't realize it until afterwards. I went reviewing prophecies, and I could see. He said, when Billy Graham and Oral Roberts die, and this prophet, a veil will be rent. And when he said it, just at the time, you're thinking, well, yes, eventually, one day, but I didn't catch this prophet part till afterwards. Someone else, one of you guys pointed that out to me. Also, there were other things he said to my mom. Like he told my mom he never thought he would make it to 60, which was a surprise to me because he used to talk about being an old man. Um,
The white beard, white hair.
yeah, I know. 2020 was a fraud. Yes, it was. Amen to that. And that, the DEWs, direct energy weapons. If they're using those, you know what that means. Okay, so an interesting thing happened this weekend. Clay Clark directed me to. I want them to read though. Are you on my Twitter page?
Mm-hmm.
Can they read what's above the tweet?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just the video. We'll play the video in a minute. Now, this guy, whoever has done this, it's not X22. I thought it was X22, but it's not. I keep getting confused because they've changed the name of Twitter to X. And so I saw the X there, and it was actually for Twitter, not for X22. I thought it was like X22 channel. My dad did cast a mantle on a generation. Refiners Fire Ministries is saying. And you know that the night that my dad died, that was the vision that I saw. It was the most insane night of my life. I'll never forget that night. And when my dad died, the vision that I had, there was a moment that so much happened to me in that split moment that he passed, and I was literally grabbing, like holding to his heels, like, take me with you, don't leave. And in that moment, there were things that I saw and felt and experienced that will take me a lifetime to unpack in that one moment. But that was one of the things that I saw. Was my dad had the blue mantles. He used to give the blue mantles to the blue scarves. He called it a mantle. He wore it on him from April 4th of 2009 for the rest of his life. Every day of his life, he wore that mantle on him. It was a representation or representative of the of what he carried and what he was responsible for, and that's why he wore it. But that mantle was cast upon a generation, and that was exactly right what you said there. Refiners Fire Ministries, Kim cast a mantle on a generation, because God is going to be using the prophetic differently. And that's why I didn't go get on that piano and just fill the void and start prophesying like my dad and playing the piano. I could never have done it as well as him. Plus, he would have been insulted if I did that. He would have said to me, everything I've taught you. Were you just going to copy me? He would have been so mad. So, of course, I knew better. And if God had told me to do that, I would have done that. But that's not what he told me to do. He told me to sit here and be amongst you and code break together. Because we all need to see this together. This isn't about one person, one ministry, one anything, not even one denomination. This is a move of God that's happening through all of us together. And that's why the new party, and that's why the veil placed upon this nation. God did it. Okay. All right. You can pull it up. Now I need to be able to read it. I think I can, okay. This is very long. If you don't follow me on Twitter, please do, because you will be able to go in and see. This is posted on my Twitter page today. Sorry.
I got in the circle.
Okay. So the person posting is Israel. I don't know who this person is. But Clay Clark sent me this. So he's talking about bloodline and genetic manipulation. This is part 3 of what this guy's putting together. And he says it's always been biblical and spiritual warfare to the max. We know this. Are you ready for this? This should help you should help open eyes. What if I told you that the invasion of Iraq, we've talked about this, had completely different motives other than oil, gold, etc.? What if it can be linked to motives that are relevant today regarding genetic manipulation or demonic entities? Why would we go into Iraq after 9/11 when Iraq had nothing to do with anything? Were there weapons of mass destruction? In a different sense, yes. He's saying exactly what I told you guys. I told you guys this weeks ago. Remember, we did the whole thing on Gilgamesh, on the German archaeologists pre 9/11 that went in and were the area of the Euphrates that had been dried up or because of the dams. And I watched a whole thing on what Saddam Hussein was doing by damming up portions of the Euphrates, and there was a whole thing about sharing the water in Turkey and Syria and all this. So, in the course of that, an area of the Euphrates was no longer covered with water; it was open, and there was a burial there. And these German archaeologists were excavating, and they found something. And 3 months later, the United States invaded Iraq over weapons of mass destruction. I don't believe they were nuclear weapons or bioweapons. They did have bioweapons there. I've spoken to soldiers who've been there. You said that they did. But that wasn't the reason. And then if you look now we talked about this, you guys. Look in Hillary Clinton's emails where the DOD, the Department of Defense, asks about the resurrection chamber in Iraq and the Nephilim. And this is in a private email that we are able to read because of Hillary Clinton and her server fiasco, that we all saw the emails. That's in. Why would they ask for that? Then there's the video that came out, I think it was 2011 or 12, and you see the Mediterranean-looking king, and he's got the curly mustache and the crown. I don't know if that video is real or not. I don't know. But it came out and was lining up with this information that we're seeing. I've heard rumors that they'd found burial chambers there. They opened it up, and these people that were in the tombs were not decayed, and one of them woke up and then died instantly, and then the other one that you see in the video, nobody knows what happened after that. Now, Gilgamesh, Epic of Gilgamesh. Many of you read it at school. I did a whole semester on just the Epic of Gilgamesh. I know the story. So, Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, Gilgamesh is Nimrod. Okay, I want you to remember that. Gilgamesh is Nimrod, is Osiris. They're all the same guy. So the flood happens. Now, I believe, and I've believed this for 15 years. I was reading about this stuff in the mid-2000s. I was going to school at the same time, so I was lining up what I was learning in class and what I knew to be true, because I don't trust the education system at all. So the whole time I was at school, I was comparing what they were teaching to what the whole time. So this was one of the things, because I know from Noah's flood, okay, we imagine Noah and everybody who was alive before the flood, we imagine them walking around in robes with the cane, because that's what you see in your children's Bible stories and whatever. That's what you see. They're in the robes, the way. I don't think that's how it was. I think that people were advanced to a degree. I don't know if people had advanced the way we have now. I think it would have been different, because you had the Watchers, you had the Nephilim who were born, the giants of old. You have the stories of the giants even after the flood. Something genetic was going on. Jesus himself said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man returns. As in the days of Noah. What were they doing in the days of Noah? Well, they were messing with genetics. And if you look at Greek history, for instance, Greek mythology, you'll see the centaur and the half animal, half human. And I talked to you about those shows I watch. Remember, I was telling you, I've been watching the show where the people read the emails, and people have had these experiences in national parks, and 9 out of 10, they're seeing a half wolf, half bat, half whatever, and man. So half man, half wolf, half Mothman. I'm sure you've seen the Mothman Prophecies movie. The Mothman. These reptilian people, the fish people. I'm not saying that those beings have survived all this time. I'm saying I believe that these scientists are out there in the middle of those national parks because they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of land. So whatever they're doing there is not going to be seen by the majority of people, and they can't affect the majority of people or harm people in neighborhoods and stuff like that. So they go out there and they are mixing. I believe them. They from other independent sources on the side saying the same thing. They were mixing human and animal genetics. Okay, so human and animal, human and angel, human and whatever, messing with genetics. That's God's code. We're not supposed to do that. That's why there was a flood. It wasn't because people were eating and drinking and walking or committing little sins. It was because they were touching something that is sacred that shouldn't be touched. So he had to flood everything. And I think that they could have been much more advanced than we give those people credit for prior to the flood. Everything could have been lost. There's so much evidence of things, and the scientific community doesn't want to acknowledge a Christian story to be true. So they hide it. That's why they hide giants. That's why they hide it. They have to continue with this is the devil now. Continue with the plan of deceiving us into believing there's no God. You've heard from that one movie, the greatest thing the devil ever did was convince us that he doesn't exist. That's the theme here right now. So now we find out this information about Iraq, and we were always wondering, why in the heck did we go to Iraq? And automatically we want to say, oh, they're bad because the Bush is bad, yeah. But what if they looked and they saw, look, these people, in Iraq, they found something connected to Nimrod or perhaps a Stargate. And I know it sounds like we're back to conspiracy theories again, but really, I'm just being honest. This is what I've been looking at. So this guy's saying the same thing now. This is why I'm shouting this at you. So he said this, he's going to pull that back up for you. 9/11 was an excuse to go into Iraq. If you didn't know, the Twin Towers were picked because that's the ground where we made our covenant with God. It all makes sense why they picked the spot after reading this. Simply, it was Satan mocking God, but let's continue. Why did the U.S. target museums and artifacts? They did. This is what I've been saying. They struck a museum in the heart of Babylon. U.S.-led troops. Interesting, it's Babylon too, right? Because Mystery Babylon. I told you what I think Mystery Babylon is. I think it's the internet and the AI. I don't think it's a country. Babylon is Babylon. So if this is found in historical Babylon, think of it. Okay, so we're going to run out of time. The sacking of Iraq's museums, U.S. wages war against culture and history, okay? So there's a link in there. I want you to go find this on my Twitter page. If you don't use Twitter, you might be able to pause this video and type that the link in, or maybe do something like that. There's requests, FOIA request of documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh. This is what I'm talking about. That's in Hillary Clinton's emails. Gilgamesh is Nimrod and the Antichrist spirit. Okay, right. So he writes all this. Keep scrolling a little bit. This guy writes all of this. There is a war for your DNA. mRNA technology is meant to alter your DNA itself. Even cloning is starting to become a reality for people, okay? So he talks about the hybrids, genetic manipulation, Genesis, how it's in Genesis, and I keep wanting to say the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Book of Enoch. Okay, so scroll. We're done with that now. You guys need to. It's very long. I'm not going to read all this, but he's talking about what I just explained to you. Now, he plays this prophecy of my dad's, and then this other guy speaking. Clay Clark sent this to me. Clay Clark has been posting this on his stuff as well. So let's have a look at this video now. It's just a couple minutes long. We'll do this before we go today. Okay, can you play that for them? Will they be able to hear? Tell me if you can hear. Now they are foes. ISIS is not an Islamic state. It is a god that was worshipped centuries and millennia ago, starting with Nimrod. That same spirit has rested upon the East, Middle East, and is knocking at your door. But you have acknowledged me as the Lord God of your nation. Because it has to do with Nimrod. Okay, so Nimrod was a Ha-Gaborim, which is in Hebrew means a mighty one, just like Goliath. Ha-Gaborim, a mighty one. There were mighty ones on the earth in those days. So Nimrod was a Ha-Gaborim in Hebrew. Now, when Babylon fell and God came down and confused their language, he fled. And you're not going to believe where he fled to. Ur of the Chaldees. And he changed his name. And you can see his initial on a symbol today in the Masons because he was the first Mason. It's a G because he became Gilgamesh. So Mystery Babylon that's talked about in the book of Revelation, it's being built. It's the hidden dark side that is working behind the scenes. Mystery Babylon is the Masonic line. It has started with Nimrod. And Nimrod, his spirit is the Antichrist spirit. Ay, ay, ay. My goodness. Okay, somebody in here. Let me see if I can find it. Now they. Oh, I can't find it now. This has been a. One thing is I'll see things. Yeah, it doesn't have to be physical to be Babylon. I think the whole thing about it being mystery Babylon, that's a clue for us. Okay. So now I have been researching this on and off. Someone in here said Ethiopia. It could be the reason that they're saying the Gilgamesh is because, and what led them to excavate in that area, is because in the Epic of Gilgamesh, it's very detailed about where he was buried, and so that's why they knew it's like part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. But I'm not saying Nimrod's not from Cush. I'm just saying. And now we're getting onto Coptic Christians. I'll have to have a look at that. Yes. Betty was watching something on this on Rumble. Okay, so somebody said to me the Black Swan. So I've written that down. I've heard of that before. I actually do know a bit about that, but I don't want to talk about it because it's been a while. But another thing someone brought up in here was the alien thing that happened this week.
On Rumble?
Yeah. Now, my mother and I have both been having a look at this. Timothy Albert, how do you say his name? Timothy Alberino, something like that. You guys probably know who he is. Timothy, he's a younger, well, not younger, he's a middle-aged guy. He's always in the Amazon, a Christian, and he talks quite extensively on the alien stuff. He doesn't believe it, and he thinks that the scientist and I don't know enough about that, but I think the scientist who made the presentation in Mexico where they showed the bodies is a renowned scientist. He's like an incredible scientist, but people are saying they think he's been deceived. I'm not sure. The whole alien thing, I don't believe them. I just don't believe them. And I've been an alien person for years. And, I've had all kinds of opinions and changing opinions on the alien thing. And I just don't believe them. I saw those. My husband and I sat there and watched the video footage, and we were just like, what the heck is this thing? It looks so
Fake.
fake. I think they're distracting us. I don't think aliens are creatures from other planets coming here either. It's an interdimensional thing. I think they're coming from outside of time space. And I think some of them are demons, but demons are only in one category. We need to understand the enemies that we face. And, you have a demon, but demons don't have that much power, there are things like watchers uh, who had bodies. They weren't spiritual entities. They had bodies. So
The Bible says we fight against principalities
principalities,
and powers and rulers. So those are different levels. Principalities, not just
principalities, levels of heaven, guys.
There's levels.
Think. You know what happens is we get so detailed with things when we're reading the Bible. We get very detailed, and it's very, very important to pull away and look at the bottom line. Because as you go through, then you're going to see something bigger. And it doesn't mean the details are not important, but you need to be doing both. Don't get so into the details and personalize it so much all the time. You need to do that for your daily stuff, but you have to be able to pull away and have that, like the way you zoom out on Google Earth and look at a country instead of a neighborhood. We have to be able to do that in our minds when we're looking at this stuff, because there's a sort of an out of time story, the whole story, which is obvious, but we need to be able to see that. So then pull away in time and say, through time, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Then how do we look at it? So it's all perspective. We zoom in, we zoom out, macro, micro, we go in between. There's levels of heaven. There's more outside of time space. We do understand that. We know that our souls are eternal, that part of us does not die. And when we leave this earth, that leaves and goes outside of time space. That's why you don't need the body. In order to be here, you actually need a body. So demons can possess, but you need a body to function in this realm. It's time and space. We are made of matter. We have to be able to move through space, and that taking time. When you take those things away, think about it. It's really hard to imagine, but we're in time space. We know that. So when you're taken out of it, you don't need the body anymore. You actually can't take the body out of it. So I don't understand how it all works, but I know that these entities are not just, it's very childish and sort of rudimentary to say, oh, they evolved a certain way. It's not that. It's not that. So, I don't,
And your dad always said history is his story.
His story, right? So we're looking at God's story. God knows the end from the beginning. He's not confined to time. And he's guiding us through this. Somebody said that, how he was, over all of this. It doesn't have to be physical to be Babylon. That's what I'm thinking, you guys. I'm thinking Babylon, Mystery Babylon, is this realm that we're in now. And I've told you this before. Like when we go and we get on these machines and we talk, we see each other and we communicate like we're doing now, we're somewhere else. Even though our physical bodies are I'm in this room and you're in that room, we're still... I didn't put the demonic eyes. I didn't put the demonic eyes. Someone else did that. The guy who posted this added those eyes. I never put those eyes there. And I think they're doing it because it has to do with the theme of what they're discussing. It's not to say that there's demon eyes over my dad. It's what my dad was seeing about this great evil. I mean, he saw the python and the spirit of Pythos and the big eye that was looking at him. And, so all of this is it's all tying in because he said Nimrod in that prophecy. I never heard my dad talk about Nimrod. Never. I mean, he might have read something from the Bible, but it wasn't something I was so surprised when he prophesied that. We're going to put that broadcast up tomorrow for Prophetic Rewind. So that's what's going to be on Prophetic Rewind tomorrow. And I do need to finish up now. What time is it?
Yeah, it's
time. Oh my goodness, yes. We're done. Okay, everybody. Remember, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Called according to his purpose, not ours.
And it's his story.
It is his story. Thank you, buddy. It is his story. And we need to remember those things to keep us grounded, because I know a lot of you uh, personalize a lot of these prophecies. And you want me to say, this is what this prophecy meant and that prophecy meant. If I haven't said it, it's because I don't have confirmation from God and I answer to him first. And people have bullied me and threatened me. I have been threatened because I'm supposed to tell everybody that this is what they believe the prophecy means. And they might be right. I'm not saying that they're not, but I don't think anybody should threaten me. Right? You can't threaten me to say you are this or that in a prophecy. I won't do that. And I've been told that terrible things are happening because I won't do that, but I won't. God has not told me that. I don't think that, and I'm not going to be bullied into saying things. I answer to God. So I have to do the right thing by all of this that I'm doing. So the best thing for me to do is just to be honest. I've just been honest with you guys. This is who I am. These are the crazy things I think about. I'm sharing my conspiracy theories with you, but I don't think we're wrong. Like maybe we're, I know 28, Romans 8 verse 28 to 32 would have been better, but I couldn't fit it all on my dry erase board. So yeah, everybody, if you were reading Romans 8:28, you can keep reading. It's great. Okay, so we're gonna go. We're gonna go, you guys. Otherwise, I'm never gonna stop talking. I just love talking to you guys. It's so much fun.
We'll be back here next Sunday, same time.
Yeah, we're gonna do more of these Q&As too. Just keep going with this. I'll see what I can find. You guys see what you can find. We'll meet back up here next week. We want to know about aliens. We want to know about Gilgamesh and the resurrection chamber and Iraq and the Nephilim. And in Afghanistan as well. The Nephilim giants. There's Nephilim giants there. They keep it on the DL, but we don't trust them. And the aliens, what's happening with these aliens? I think they just don't want us paying attention to the shenanigans they're getting up to. They keep distracting us. Every time something comes out about Biden, they indict Trump and there's more alien news. It's so predictable. Like I said, the devil's so boring. It's so boring. Stop being so boring. These people need to get a little bit more interesting, because now it's like, you're just going to do the same thing over again. We already know your game. We already know what you're doing. So anyway, these people will be embarrassed one day. So we'll just pray for them. And I do pray for all of you. Thank you for joining me today. I will be back next Sunday, and we will be doing this now on Sundays, 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and anywhere else in the world. I can't help you. You have to do your own math on that. But 3 p.m. Central Standard Time in the United States of America. I'm in Tennessee. And again, I continue to pray for all of you. I love you so much for joining me today. It's great that we have this going on, and it's way fun. I love doing this. I could literally, I'm only cutting off time because I have responsibilities, and I have to go because my children have school tomorrow, and my daughter wants to go to the mall, and all kinds of things are happening. I did bring one thing to show you before I go. My husband has been caving. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of spelunking, but it's actually not. That's for beginners. He's caving. And we actually left one of these in a cave. Because you know, if you go in a cave, it's completely black. You have to have the helmet with the headlamp. I've gone. My sister and I went with my husband. But I got this thing. I hope it works. How do you get it to work? The button. There we go. Look. You see, I don't know if you can see it lighting up, but it lights up. And so we hung this in a cave here in Tennessee. So people are going to go spelunking, and all of a sudden they're going to see a flashing light in the darkness of the cave. And when they look up, they're going to see this. Trump 2024. Isn't that funny? Okay, we'll end with that. Everybody, see you next week, 3 o'clock.
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So If you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.
We have recently joined with you at MyPillow, and you guys are sponsoring us. We have our promo code Kim Clement, right?
It's our 20-year anniversary, everybody. Back in the summer, in July of 2004, when I invented MyPillow. The MyPillow, the queen size. This is the patented fill, and this is Giza cover, the cotton cover we use on our sheets. So it's a very special limited edition pillow. The queen size, normally $69, I believe $98, $19.98 with their promo code there. $19.98. The king size, I didn't plan this either. They just happened to be in my office. The king size is $29.98. You guys, these are, and they're normally $79.98. So you're getting the best price of any MyPillow in history. If you go to the website too, we still have some closeout slippers at $25 a pair. You'll never be $25. These slippers are closeout. I run into people all the time. Mike, I have all your products. No, you don't. Do you know about our dish towels that just came in? The best dish towels you'll ever use in history, ever. And when we reverse engineer a product, we go problem solution. I want dish towels that dry the things, not that feel, hard or whatever. I mean, it's disgusting. These actually work. These actually work. But yeah, use that promo code Clements, everybody, and take advantage of that right now.